Welcome to the 2022-2023 Oneida Herkimer Madison BOCES online awareness training for the Dignity for All Students Act, often referred to as Dasa or the Dignity Act. This annual awareness training is required for all school employees, including but not limited to teachers, administrators, monitors, aides, bus drivers, coaches, custodians, cafeteria staff, and hall monitors. The Dignity Act was established to provide all public school students in New York State an environment free from bullying and harassment. It became effective on July 1st, 2012, and was amended to include cyberbullying effective July 1st, 2013. The Dignity Act was signed into law by former Governor David Paterson. The legislator finds that a student's ability to learn and meet high academic standards and a school's ability to educate its students are compromised by incidents of discrimination or harassment that include bullying, taunting, or intimidation. Effective in May 2018, the Board of Regents amended the Dignity Act reporting requirements to include illustrative examples of the types of incidents of harassment, bullying, and/or discrimination which must be reported and investigated as possible violations of the Dignity Act. These amendments included a report regarding the denial of access to school facilities, functions, opportunities, or programs, including but not limited to restrooms, changing rooms, locker rooms, and/or field trips, or a report regarding application of dress code, specific grooming or appearance standards, or a report regarding the use of names and pronouns or the pronunciation of names, or a report regarding any other form of harassment, bullying, and/or discrimination based on a person's actual or perceived race, color, weight, national origin, ethnic group, religion, religious practice, disability, sexual orientation, gender, which includes gender identity and/or expression, or sex. In 2019, the Dignity Act was amended to include the Crown Act to add to the definition of race traits such as hair texture and protective hairstyles that may include but are not limited to locks, braids, and twists in order to protect students' access to their public education regardless of how they choose to wear or style their hair. Under the Dignity Act, bullying and cyberbullying are prohibited. Examples of this type of behavior include physical, verbal, relational or social, and cyber, with schools required to include instruction on safe and responsible use of the internet and electronic communication. This applies to behaviors that occur between student to student, as well as school employee to student, on school property, on a school bus, and/or at a school function. All student instruction should support the development of a school environment free from discrimination, bullying, and harassment. Instruction should include components on civility, citizenship, and character education. The Dignity Act also requires schools collect and report material incidents of discrimination, bullying, and harassment on an annual basis to the New York State Education Department. The Dignity Act requires that the Code of Conduct include provisions prohibiting discrimination, bullying, and harassment, as well as address remedial responses to discipline and place the focus on correcting the reasons why these behaviors have occurred. Schools are encouraged, when appropriate, to use a wide range of intervention measures to address these behaviors that include, but are not limited to, restorative practices, adult mentoring, and counseling, rather than over-relying on exclusionary methods of discipline, such as suspension. Bullying has been defined as unwanted aggressive behavior that involves a real or perceived power imbalance. The behavior is repeated or has the potential to be repeated over time. Bullying generally involves the following characteristics: an imbalance of power. Students who bully others use their power, such as physical strength, access to embarrassing information, or popularity, to control or harm others. Power imbalances can change over time and in different situations, even if they involve the same people. The intent to cause harm. Determining the intent of an individual who demonstrates bullying behaviors may be difficult. The perception of the person who is the target of those behaviors should also be considered. And repetition. Bullying behaviors generally happen more than once, or have the potential to happen more than once. Threats, intimidation, or abuse shall include verbal and nonverbal actions. Emotional harm that takes place in the context of harassment, bullying, or cyberbullying means harm to a student's emotional well-being through the creation of a hostile school environment that is so severe or pervasive as to unreasonably and substantially interfere with the student's education. A material incident can be defined as a single incident or a series of incidents where a student is subjected to bullying and harassment by a student and or employee on school property, on a school bus, or at a school function that creates a hostile environment by conduct with or without physical contact and or verbal threats, intimidation, or abuse of such severe or pervasive nature that has or would have the effect of unreasonably and substantially interfering with a student's educational performance, opportunities, or benefits, or mental, emotional, and or physical well-being, or reasonably causes or would reasonably be expected to cause a student to fear for their physical safety. Cyberbullying can be defined as bullying that takes place using electronic technology. Electronic technology can include, but is not limited to, devices and equipment such as cell phones, computers, tablets, and gaming consoles, as well as communication tools including social media sites, text messages, chat rooms, and websites. Unlike traditional bullying, cyberbullying crosses all geographical boundaries. Cyberbullying allows an aggressor to cloak their identity, and the target may not know who is targeting them or why. Under the Dignity Act, covered protected classes include, but are not limited to, actual or perceived race, color, weight, national origin, ethnic group, religion, religious practice, disability, sexual orientation, gender, including gender identity and or expression, or sex. The intent of the law is not to be exhaustive. For example, while height is not specifically outlined in the law, a student harassed or bullied for being short or tall would also be protected. Under the Dignity Act, each school building is required to have at least one Dignity Act coordinator, commonly referred to as a DAC, although many school buildings may have more than one. The DAC is designated by the school board. The DAC must be available to the school community for consultation and advice as needed. DACs should have a designated email address as well as their contact information posted in high traffic locations of all school buildings, including their administrative office. In the event that a DAC vacates their position, another school employee shall be designated for an interim appointment of the DAC, pending approval of a successor DAC by the Board of Education within 30 days of the date the position was vacated. In the event a DAC isn't able to perform their duties for an extended period of time, then another school employee shall be immediately designated as the interim appointment of the DAC, pending the return of the previous DAC to their duties. All schools must provide contact information for the DAC of the building and the district to all members of the school community. This information generally can be made available in the form of a poster displayed throughout the school building and other high traffic areas. This poster provides the name and contact information of the DAC at your school. The poster on the left is used in elementary schools, the poster on the right in middle and high schools. DAC information should also be included and updated regularly in the Code of Conduct and be included in mailings to all members of the school community. Any school employee having reasonable cause to believe that a student has been subject to harassment, bullying, and/or discrimination must act reasonably and in good faith and report. They must follow the 24-48-hour rule, where an oral report must be submitted within 1 school day, followed by a written report required within 2 school days. Dasa incident reporting forms should be easily accessible to all members of the school community and be made available on the district's website. Once a report is submitted, the DAC will lead a prompt and thorough investigation. If the report is a verified incident of bullying, harassment, and/or discrimination, the school must take prompt action reasonably calculated to end the harassment, bullying, and/or discrimination, eliminate any hostile environment, and ensure the safety of the student or students who were the targets of these behaviors. It is important to remember that FERPA protects the privacy of student records, and therefore information contained within the investigation and the subsequent reports is confidential and should not be released without permission from the parent, person-parental relationship, or eligible student that is 18 years or older. And as a reminder, the Dignity Act prohibits retaliation against any individual who reports in good faith or assists in the investigation of harassment, bullying, cyberbullying, and/or discrimination. According to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention and the Cyberbullying Research Center, students who are bullied are at a risk for feelings of depression, anxiety, and isolation. Low self-esteem is also a problem with poor school adjustment, sleep difficulties, physical illness, and suicidal thoughts. The targets of bullying may be afraid to go to school, ride the bus, use the school bathroom, and even be in fear of being alone in the school hallway. They also might shy away from activities that they normally enjoy and not participate in after-school or extracurricular activities offered by the school. Bullying, harassment, and/or discrimination can impact both the emotional and physical health of a student. Although the signs and symptoms of the impact can vary from student to student, be aware of changes in behavior and mood. These may include having lost interest in schoolwork or suddenly begins to do poorly in school, appearing sad, moody, or depressed when they come home, having lost or destroyed books, clothing, or other personal belongings, complaining of frequent headaches or stomach aches or other physical illnesses, has declining grades and increased absenteeism, having trouble sleeping or frequently has bad dreams, experiences a loss in appetite, and often appears anxious and suffers from low self-esteem. There may be other signs, but if you witness or provided information regarding a student being bullied, harassed, or discriminated in your school, you must report this immediately to the Dignity Act coordinator or their designee. At this time, this concludes our training module on Dasa awareness. Thank you for taking the time to view this module, and please use the resources on the screen if you would like more information on any of the topics covered within this training. Thank you.